Okay, so today we're going to be learning how to make jet engines. Let's go. Okay, so I just got a little platform here that we can build our jet engine on. So it's going to be doing a few things with the jet engine. I'm going to show you how to use them for generators. I'm going to show you how to use them as propulsion and how to use different exhausts, stuff like that. So if you come below your electric tab here, you'll have everything you need for jet engines. Now, a jet engine consists of four parts, four parts at least. You have a jet intake, which is either large or small, then a compressor, combustion chamber, and a turbine, whether that be medium or small. Now, small jet turbine is a 3x3 space. All of these have 3x3 by something as their area, with the exception of that. And the large jet intake, which also is an exception. This thing's 7x7, and you can perfectly line up wedges with the side like that if you want to make a jet engine that's flush with the outside panel. But we're just going to use a small jet turbine. So once you've placed that down, next we have to get our compressor, and you'll see the centerpiece there. Place your compressor down with the arrows facing away from the intake. The arrows show the flow of the engine, and we want it to go away from the intake. Next, combustion chamber, same process, also has arrows. This is where we intake fuel. Next we have our turbines, and we have two turbines that we can choose from. We have our jet turbine medium, our jet turbine small. Now, difference, there's only two differences. Well, I mean, other than the aesthetics, obviously this is 2 blocks high, 3 wide each direction, and this is 3x3x3. The main difference of them, other than that, because this is bigger, advantages: you get a power output, whereas this you do not get a power output at all. So we can use this for a jet engine. It's just one of these without power, but we're not going to use those today, because you can just use it the same as this one. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to get a small fuel tank. I'm just going to hook it up directly. I'll check that's all hooked up. And when you go into your fuel tank, you can change it to jet fuel. We need it to have on jet fuel. If you put it on diesel, it won't work. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to utilize that power output. I'm just going to put it into a propeller so that we can see that it's actually working. Now I'll grab a battery to be able to start the engine, and I'm also going to get a throttle lever. And I'm going to get a toggle button. Now this is what we're going to use for our engine system. So this can be our engines, or engine on/off. And this can be our target RPS. This is what our engine is going to try and target. So I'm going to set the maximum value to 50 RPS. Now we're going to go into our microcontroller editor, and you see got a blank microcontroller. I'm going to call mine test jet controller. We're going to add a node for our engine on/off. From our toggle button, our target RPS from our throttle lever, the physical RPS from our intake. You can use the RPS from other parts of the engine, but I tend to use it from the intake. And we're also going to do our output throttle. Get one more node. This is going to be a starter. Goes our logic, so we have a starter, our output throttle, RPS, target RPS, engine off. So I'd recommend you organize it with your engine on off and your starter up top, RPS, then your target RPS. So first we're going to hook up our automatic start. So we're going to get our less than block. So our RPS from our intake, we're also going to get a constant number. Our RPS from our intake is less than a constant number, which we're going to set to the purpose of a jet 0.75. Can set it to 0.6. It does work. Jet engines can start at 0.6 RPS. But not always, so I find the sweet spot's 0.75. We're going to get an AND block. Put that in there. Just there we go. And now that we've got that, we are going to set up our PID. We'll grab a PID. We'll just get a basic PID controller. Output throttle, set our active to our engine on off. Our RPS from our intake is going to become our process variable, and our target RPS is our set point. If you don't know what a PID does, what it does is it looks at the set point, takes away the process variable from the set point, so set point minus process variable, and uses these parameters here to output a number. Now, you can change these up, you can do whatever, but it doesn't mean it's going to work well. So, I've found a good setup is in your proportional gain 0.01, integral 0.00001, and for your derivative 0.1. Now we're just going to save this. Just find it in our editor. There we go. We'll put that down. Up our logic, so we have our engine on off. There. A starter to our compressor. We have our output throttle to the jet combustion chamber. RPS from our intake, so our intake's in. There's our RPS. And target RPS is going to be from our throttle. Just grab our electricity. There we go. Talk about electric. And let's so I set my target RPS to 10. We can see that our RPS is building up. Our engine has started. And our engine is slowly going to build its way up to, in this case, 30.83 RPS. Will take a little time to build up because it's these kind of settings for this engine is quite soft, I guess you could say. But it's building its way up, and as we can see, we are getting an output from this propeller. Engine's all fine. Our throttle's slowly decreasing as we get closer to our target RPS, and we're getting a power output. Okay, so what we're going to do now, we're going to add exhausts onto it, and we're also going to use, so we're going to get a toggle button, and we're going to get a throttle lever. Now you're probably wondering about toggle button and the throttle lever, what they're for. But first we're going to get jet exhaust basic. So this will output physical thrust from our engine. So thrust spoiler is, it takes a value from 0 to 1, and when it's at 1, there is no thrust coming out the engine. When it's at 0, all thrust is released from the engine. We're going to start this at 1, and we'll just hook up the electrode. So we have our exhaust. We'll change the toggle button later. Let's boot our engine up. Okay, that's kicked in. You can see we've got no thrust. Even though we do have physical smoke coming out, we don't have any thrust, as we say. And all the thrust is being input to the small propeller. If we give it a little bit of exhaust, you can see even with only, it's 93 thrust reduction, it's pretty powerful. Okay, let's turn that to the workbench. So, next thing we're going to look at, so grab another throttle lever. I'm going to change this to rotation. Hook up the electricity for that. We're going to grab a jet exhaust rotator. So I'm just going to set my exhaust to be like that. This will also need electricity. So we have our rotation target and our exhaust. Spawn this in. You see, if we turn on our engine, it'll kick in, and there we go. We have thrust coming out that way, and if we change the rotation, we have a full 180 degrees of rotation. So we could set it to that and lower the exhaust, and it's pushing down. We change the rotation. Well, as you can see, it's now putting out thrust that way. If I had this got crap, we change the rotation, it's now going to go the other way. Return that. Now, we're going to get rid of that, get rid of your rotating part, and we're going to use a afterburner. Now the secret of the afterburner is that I'm just going to add another fuel tank and configure it for jet fuel. Doesn't need electricity, but it has this thing called the afterburner. Look in the logic, and I would recommend, if you want to see the full workings of this, and this will be a little bit hard to see, but we're going to use a chair just to see what's going on. So we've got our target RPS. So we have our afterburner, and our afterburner, what it does is injects more jet fuel into the afterburner to give us extra thrust. And if we hit the exhaust, you see this engine with an afterburner is very powerful. It's very noisy, but it's very powerful. So, well, yeah, that's about it for jet engines. You can use them as generators. You don't actually have to have an exhaust, as I showed you earlier. If you hook up generators, they're really, really good for producing power, and I'll see you next time. Bye.